Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jérémy Grosfroca, and I am the MR Customer Center Manager for GE Healthcare in Europe. Again, this is a great pleasure for me this morning to welcome you virtually in live from our Customer Center in Buc, near to Paris, for this third live scanning session for ECR 2021. So maybe just before to start, I want just to give you this information that this is not the last one, because we are continuing this daily event together during the weekend. So please join us this weekend on Saturday about MSK and using the air multipurpose coils, and on Sunday about the cardiac acquisition at Treaty using as well the air multipurpose coil. So feel free to register. It will be a pleasure for me to host you during this weekend as well. Just before to start our today's subject, which will be the body session, let me first introduce you the team with me this morning. First of all, with me in Buc, we have Isabelle Dufour-Claude, who is our clinical leader for body and oncology for Europe. And as well, in the chat, we have Bastien Perez, who is our clinical marketing manager. He will be the moderator of the session. He will follow all the questions, all the remarks in the chat. So in case you have something to say or any question to ask, please feel free to use the chat. We can really make something interactive this morning. I think now we are at the point that we are starting our today's subject. So today we are going to see improving reproducibility and clinical consistency using Signaworks AIQ edition for body imaging. First of all, the Signaworks AIQ edition is our really last platform, our last software version we put on the market several weeks ago. This is really a software version which is body-oriented. I mean, in this software version, we implemented a lot of developments, a lot of features in order to really simplify the body examination for our customers and for our patient. And that in order to generate more reproducibility and more clinical consistency. This is what we are going to cover. Because yes, we all know that body MR, you have a lot of interest to perform body MR. You have several contrasts, you have dynamic acquisition, but due to the MR technique or sometimes to the patient conditions, you still have some challenges to perform MR. So we really try to address them, and let's discover that this morning today. But just before to start our scanning session, and as all the MR acquisition and MR examination start with a great coil, I want to present you first the coil we are going to use this morning during this session. We are going to use this coil. I think you probably know. This is the 30-channel anterior array air coil. So, lot of characteristics about this coil. First of all, the weight of the coil, which is really light. It's 2 kilograms with cables and everything. So, when it comes to scan abdomen on patients, they will definitely prefer to be scanned with this kind of light coil. And the coil is as well really flexible. So you can see that I can really wrap this coil in all the sense. And yes, it will really help you to make this coil fit the patient morphology. Even if you have a pretty large patient, you can use it this way to really cover all the abdomen of the patient. As well, really important when we talk about body, and we cover that during the scanning, the coil has a really large coverage. You can see I am 1 meter 90 centimeter, and you can scan thorax, abdomen, and pelvis on myself. And it's as well a story of the image quality. 30 elements embedded inside with the air coil technology, which gives you this possibility to really use high parallel imaging factor. And as we are here talking about coils, I want just to show you another one, which is as well really important when we talk about body. Same family of product, the air family of product. This is the air MP coil, medium one, because we have two sizes. Same kind of characteristic that the previous one. You have 20 elements on this field of view. And for pelvic examination, or as well for rectum or prostate, this will be really a great coil to use. And this will be really a great coil to use. And we'll use it as well for the cardiac. So I think now it's the time to take our volunteers in the room and to install him with the air coil. Okay. So you can see I will really use this air coil as a blanket. It will be really easy for me to position and really easy for my volunteer to handle. You can see here, I'm really adapting the coil to the morphology of the patient. Starting from that, we are ready to scan. I will just need now to create the landmark. For that, I will use the IntelliTouch, which is the sensitive strip band that you can find on the side of the table. With only one finger, by pressing on the side of the table, I will create the landmark and send the patient within the bar. So by saying that, I will let you for 1 minute because we just need now to remove the camera outside of the magnet room, and we are going to start the scanning session. See you in a minute.
Thank you, Jeremy. And this is Friday. We are halfway through the ECR live scanning session. Let me share with you the rest of the agenda of those live scanning session in the chat. As Jeremy mentioned, we'll be having tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Paris time, MSK imaging session using the air multi-purpose coil. So this is the second air coil that Jeremy has shown to you. And finally, we'll close the ECR live scanning session on Sunday with cardiac imaging at 3T using as well the air coil technology. I really invite you to subscribe, even if you may not be able to join during the live session, because if you register, we'll be sending the links to the recorded session. So you will be able to replay those videos afterwards, and you will be able to share it with your colleagues as well, in case you have more people interested in your facilities that couldn't register to the session live. Also, I wanted also to mention that at 11:45 today, there will be also a joint symposium organized by GE Care on the particular topic of deep learning. I'm posting as well the agenda for this event. This will be about how do we apply deep learning for image reconstruction, both in CT and MR, and as well some, I would say, customer testimonial from the very first customer who've been partnering with GE on deep learning. So this is all happening today, busy agenda. And I think that now we have Jeremy on the other side of the scanning room, ready to explain you all about body imaging.
Yes, thank you, Bastien, for all of those information and explanations. Let's start the session. So here we are at the operator console, and the first interface, the first place you will be, it's the SAR limit level definition. By default, you will scan at the first level of SAR, mainly of all your patients. But in case you have a patient that could maybe have, for example, a cardiac implant, you can choose the low SAR mode and then fill the values that are provided by the manufacturer of the implant to scan safely, and the system will adapt automatically the scan parameters. Let's here first scan with the first level of SAR. Okay, maybe let's start by an overview of what we are going to scan this morning. We've said we are going to try to address the main challenges of the body MR and of here the abdomen MR. So first of all, we are going to work to deal with the breathing pattern of the patient. This is really an important parameter, and which is different for all the examination for all of the patients. So you will see how it's possible for us to reduce the breath hold time, or sometimes to improve the image quality and spatial resolution and reduce the slice thickness without paying any penalty in terms of acquisition time. Then, to continue to speak about this breathing pattern management, we will see some free breathing technique with different techniques. You will see that we have a large portfolio to give you this opportunity to adapt your way to work to your patient. And then another important challenge we are facing doing MR for body is the quantity of signal. At the moment, you need high resolution or thin slices. You will have really an important penalty in terms of SNR. And we will demonstrate you this deep learning reconstruction algorithm we have on our system that could really be useful in those kind of examinations. Let's start by the first sequence. So I will just position it first. Yes. So the first sequence is really a common sequence. I mean, the sequence that you will probably run for all of your examination for abdomen. This is a LAVA sequence, which is a 3DT1 gradient echo with the flex technique. So it's the fat suppression using the Dixon technique. Maybe here, just highlighting the parameters. It's 1.5 by 1.5 in plane acquisition with 3 millimeter slice thickness, which is the acquired slice thickness, because we are here using a ZIP2 that will reconstruct with 1.5 slice thickness. So this is our starting point, a daily routine sequence. And then, starting from this sequence, we will play with it to adapt the parameters dependently of if we want to reduce the breath hold time or if we want to improve the parameters. You will probably heard during the scanning the auto voice, because the breath hold commands are really managed automatically by the system. Let's open the second one. So you can see the second one is 12 segments. So we reduce from the first one, but using exactly the same parameters, 1.5 by 1.5 in plane, 3 millimeter slice thickness. So how did we reduce the scan time? Because here we are using the hypersense technique. Hypersense is now compatible with the 3DT1 gradient echo, and it's the compress sensing technique of GE Healthcare, which will help us to reduce the acquisition time without the need of reducing the spatial resolution or reducing or improving the slice thickness. You can see as well here that in the auto view, all the images are arriving on the fly. So let's run this sequence, which will be maybe here more dedicated for a patient that cannot hold this breath for a long time.
Hey, Jeremy, just to also give some more details about the technique to everybody, because I don't expect everybody to be super familiar with the name of the technique from GE. I will be posting on the chat some more explanation, like what is hypersense, what is disco, etc. Okay?
That's perfect. That's really perfect. Thank you, Bastien.
And just to be clear about the acronym of LAVA, which is the liver acquisition volume acceleration. So we use several types of parallel imaging techniques. So we can use asset, we can use in image domain, we can use also ARC, which is in the case-space domain, on top of the hypersense as well, which is a compress sensing technique to accelerate more.
So here, the third one. At this point, maybe sometime you will tell me, okay, my patient can hold his breath for 17, 18 seconds. It's okay, but I want thinner slices. I want better in plane resolution. With this sequence, which will be our high resolution sequence, we reduce the in plane pixel size to 1.4 by 1.4 in plane acquired. And we reduce as well the slice thickness from 3 millimeter to 1.8 millimeter. And you can see our sequence is even faster than the first one without using hypersense. Here again, we are using the compressed sensing technique of GE Healthcare.
And this very small slice thickness will be very interesting, especially for pancreas imaging, where it requires very thin slices to cover as well the whole pancreas, but also the whole liver, as you can see on the screen. And then those sequences can be easily reformatted in any orientation.
Absolutely, Isabel. This is one of the things when we are going to look at the images that we are going to show this multiplanar improvement when it comes to use this kind of high resolution acquisition. Here, another way to use the hypersense to improve again at the same time the image quality, the clinical consistency, and with a pretty short scan time. Here we are doing a multi-phase acquisition. That will be really important to see an arterial uptake of contrast, and with 3 phases. It means that in one breath hold on 19 seconds, we will cover the liver 3 times. And here again, with a nice in-plane resolution at 1.7 by 1.7. So here again, we can achieve this kind of resolution using the hypersense. So you can see that for a single technique, you will have a really different way to use it.
So this sequence will be very interesting to capture the early arterial phases. And we have several techniques to acquire multi-arterial phases. This one is a 3 separate full case space filling. So it's 3 different volume dataset within the same breathhold, but we have also, and you will see later on, that we have the DISCO and the DISCO star, which allows you also to get multiple arterial phases within breathhold or within free breathing.
The last one, so here, I think we are okay with the breathhold. Maybe at this time of the examination, I have with a patient that cannot hold his breath anymore. So starting from that, let's discover how it's possible to manage that. And here to show you as well that with free breathing, you will be able to achieve high in-plane resolution again. Here we will use the navigator. So you can see we have an automatic positioning of the navigator by the system on the 3-plane localizer. You can see here as well. And we will do 1.6 by 1.6 isotropic acquisition, even with the slice thickness. And it will clearly show you that even for a difficult breath holder, the high spatial resolution will be achievable. And while we are acquiring this one, maybe let's have a look of the sequence we already acquired. Let's look at the image quality we obtained since we started the session. So to start, I will propose you to compare first the one without hypersense with the one using hypersense in 12 seconds. So on the left is the one in 18 seconds without hypersense. So our starting point, I will call this acquisition like that. And on the right side, this is exactly the same acquisition using hypersense in 12 seconds. And we can see that we clearly have the same kind of information. There is no penalty in terms of acquisition. And with the same kind of details, we have a great slice thickness with a great in-plane resolution. So it gives us really the possibility to nicely have a look of the pancreas, of the kidney, and as well of the liver. So here, yes, we reduce the acquisition time without any penalty. And let's maybe now make the same kind of comparison using the high spatial resolution acquisition.
Jeremy, may I give something also additional? LavaFlex is very well appreciated for the assessment of pancreatic tissue. That's why I think it's interesting to be able to push the spatial resolution like you're doing below 2 millimeter isotropic resolution. By comparing the contrast of the pancreas and the normal liver tissue, it will give you a first look at, for example, pancreatitis, of just looking at the contour of the pancreas. So it's really a demand we have more and more, being able to push spatial resolution even before contrast injection.
Absolutely, Bastien. And here, yes, so this is great to show you the right one here, using this high spatial resolution, the 1.8 in slice thickness. And if we compare, as Isabelle said before, by doing a multiplanar reconstruction, here we can clearly see this the added value of using this high high in plane resolution and thin slice thickness. And yes, to have this great visualization, what I really like to do here is to do a minip here that will clearly give you a nice overview of the liver vascularization, and you can see that we see way more details in the 1.8 by 1.8 1.8 slice thickness. Okay, let's position maybe the another free breathing technique, and this one will be a bit different because we are going to use the lava star technique. So lava star, it's a fully free breathing technique. There is no added devices or any added technique. This is just a 3D radial stack of star. And using that, so it means that our patient will be fully free breathing, and we will use a 1.2 by 1.2 in plane resolution with 3.4 millimeter slice thickness. So here again, your difficult breather and breath holder are really available to high in plane resolution.
So as you will see in a minute, for the free breathing acquisition, so you have seen the ability to use the auto tracker placement for the navigator sequence that we can also use for DCE imaging. But let's have a look to also the lava star, which will be scanned in a minute, will be used for single phase and more potentially the hepatobiliary phase in free breathing to get very high spatial resolution and get full detail and full assessment of liver lesions. But we will also run DiscoStar, which is the view sharing equivalent of LavaStar, also for multi-phase imaging, so directly for dynamic contrast enhancement of liver or pancreas. This also sequence is not limited to abdomen, but we can also use it very positively in the female pelvis or in the male pelvis for prostate dynamic imaging as well. It will also help to freeze some motion during the acquisition of the dynamic.
Thank you, Isabelle. And yes, absolutely. Here it's the DiscoStar sequence. So the one we are running, the LavaStar, is the single phases, as Isabelle mentioned. And here will be our multi-phase acquisition with the view sharing technique. So you can see here we can define the number of phases that we are going to scan, and here the acceleration we will be able to use. Important to highlight here, this DiscoStar, which is again a fully free breathing acquisition, will have a temporal resolution of 6.6 seconds. So we will cover the whole liver each 6.6 seconds. So it's a really high temporal resolution. So even if you are doing free breathing, you have access to high temporal resolution. And I want here to compare this technique to another free breathing dynamic acquisition, here now using the navigator, the technique we saw just before. So it was really to highlight you that the way to deal with the breathing pattern of your patient is the key of the success of your examination. And we really decided to have a large portfolio of solutions that could give you the possibility to really adapt the way you are working to any type of patient. Okay, and now we'll have time to have a look, to continue our image review. So this one was the high resolution one, and maybe have a look now. Let's have a look of the multi-phases. So on this one with Bressold, we covered the liver 3 times in one Bressold of 19 seconds. So you can see that here we have one phase, we covered 1 time, 2nd time, 3 times. So here it's only one Bressold, and we still have a great in-plane resolution with a great visualization of the structure.
Which is also very important to mention here. It's between the lava with 3 different volume acquisition within the same Bressold. That means that the 3 volumes are totally independent. And if the patient cannot totally hold the breath for the whole duration of this 20 seconds, you will still have crispy images at least on 1 or 2 phases.
And yes, I have a review now of our navigated 1.6 isotropic acquisition.
Jeremy, can you hold here for a minute on this patient list? Because I've been explaining on the chat that the flex is a Dixon-based technique giving multiple contrast. And this is something that the system will automatically generate for you. You can decide what type of contrast you want the system to reconstruct. Of course, you have the water and the fat images, but you also get in-phase and out-of-phase imaging. You don't have to send all of that every time to your packs. This is really something you can manage, but that was just to show it.
Yes, thank you, Bastien. It's really important. It's pretty easy to deal with. You just have to define at one time what you want to push on the packs, and then it will be automatically done for any of your examination. This one was our 1.6 isotropic navigated sequence, and you can see here for the pancreas we have a really great visualization. I will try to not scroll too fast for you. And yeah, and for the liver as well, we have really great details in the liver. And here we'll have this capability again to reconstruct multiplanar acquisition. In coronal, for example, for the kidney here, we have a good visualization of the kidney in the 3 plane. And yeah, we have a really good capability of reconstructing the images. Here again, it allows me to come back on the navigator. You can see here, our system is tracking the breathing of the patient, and all the blue points are the one we are acquiring, and the other one are not used for the acquisition. And here you can see it's my dynamic acquisition. I'm really performing it like I'm on site.
So with the use of what we call also Dynaplan, you can also tailor the number of phases, the time between phases, exactly to perform completely fully automatic acquisition of the dynamic followed by the late and equilibrium phases for liver acquisition.
And here I displayed the 2 star technique. On the left side, the one with the high plane resolution, fully free breathing, stack of star technique for a high in plane single phases resolution, high in plane resolution for a single phases. And here the one using a really high temporal resolution. Here we have a temporal resolution of 8 seconds. And you can see for a really free breathing technique, we have a really great image quality for this 6 seconds of acquisition. Okay, so I think from here we talked a lot about the way to deal with the breathing pattern of the patient. So now maybe let's jump off on our second challenges, the way we are dealing with the signal. Here we are doing a Coro SSFSC acquisition in 3 millimeter slice thickness with 0.8 by 0.8 in plane resolution. So you can see it's really thin slices with a high plane resolution. We really want here to look at really closely of the kidney morphology and structure. And you can see that we are using ERICON-DL here, which is our deep learning based reconstruction algorithm, which is working specifically on the raw data and which will remove noise and Gibbs artifact to deliver more SNR and sharper images. You can see for ERICON-DL, you have a user selectable level. You can choose the power with the strength of the algorithm. So if it's high, low, or a medium use of ERICON-DL. And here again, we are using the navigator.
Hey, Jeremy, just one small comment here, because I don't think we've been talking too much about AirTouch from a user interface perspective. What you can see on the bottom right part of the screen, these are the coils connected and contributing to your protocol. At no point you have seen Jeremy trying to optimize what kind of coil element will be activated in a specific field of view. This is all done by the software behind. So you connect your 30-channel air coil, you have the coil inside the table, and that's it. Every time you will move your field of view, for example, we have moved from an axial centered around the liver and the pancreas, we've moved to the kidney. That's it. You just need to move your field of view, and the intelligence of the software behind will change the elements that will contribute to the signal to noise ratio.
Thank you, Bastien. That's true, and I think we will show how AirTouch is powerful at the end by doing a thorax, abdomen, and pelvis in 2 stacks without doing anything. I mean, it will be a really free positioning technique. I will show you that. So here we are running our Coro T2 SSFSE for the kidney and ERICON-DL, and I propose you here to do exactly the same for the pancreas with, again, really thin slices, because we have 3 millimeter slices and 0.8 by 0.9 in plane resolution. Okay, and let's position maybe the thorax, abdomen, and pelvis.
So you see the images are arriving on the fly while they acquire with the navigator on the top right corner.
Absolutely. Let's just maybe finish the last acquisition we did for the dynamic one, and then we will move to the SSFSE we already acquired. So we said we have the DiscoStar, the dynamic technique using with the 6 seconds of temporal resolution, and here we have the dynamic acquisition. I will maybe load the dynamic one. Yeah. Here. And here you have the dynamic acquisition using the navigator. So here it's 12 seconds of temporal resolution. So you can see that you have several ways to perform dynamic acquisition dependently of the way your patient is breathing and the way your patient is supporting the free breathing and the breath hold technique. So we saw breath hold, free breathing with stack of star, free breathing with navigator for single or multiple phases.
You may have thought that it would be too long spend time about some of the T1 sequences, but as you know, that is the most important sequence when we are doing abdomen exam. So this will be very helpful to have multiple techniques to combat from patient motion and to adapt and to tailor to any rhythm or patient condition.
And here, while we have the actual T2 which is arriving in the auto view, we can have a look of our coronal T2 SSFSE using ERICON-DL for the kidneys. And you can see for 1 minute acquisition with thin slices and high in-plane resolution, we have a great quantity of signal and with with sharper images, with lots of details. We can see the different structure of the kidneys without any difficulties. So, and we can achieve this kind of image quality thanks to Ericon DL, because if we have a look at the images without applying Ericon DL, because as we said, we are applying Ericon DL on the case space at a case space level, so we can as well reconstruct the raw data without using Ericon DL. And so here, if we compare the same raw data set, on the left using Ericon DL, on the right without Ericon DL, we can see the quantity of signal we are saving and why we can scan faster, because we have no fear of SNR penalty while improving the spatial resolution of our images. Bastien, do you have some question or some remark?
Yeah, I'm actually answering to a great question from Nazim regarding the selection of the core element and the field of view. I would write that in the chat. I wanted to say something about deep learning reconstruction. I've been having an interesting discussion yesterday, and I was comparing deep learning reconstruction with DSLR camera, so the reflex camera, Canon, Nikon, whatever. And I think that the beauty of Ericon DL is that it works on raw data. And this is why you're having the maximum potential when it comes to improving your image quality and getting rid of some of the truncature artifact. The same would apply to a camera. Maybe some of you are shooting in the RAW format, some of you shooting in the JPEG format. Well, as always, when you start from the raw data, you're not throwing anything from what you acquire. So that's why you can have an impact on image quality as what you've just displayed.
Sorry, we have just missed the connection to the main user interface. We will just reload it in a couple of minutes. Sorry for this interruption of the video.
Ericon DL is really deep learning applied to image reconstruction. During, I think it was Wednesday session, we were focusing on brain imaging. And this is also an area where deep learning is not applied to image reconstruction, but to MR slice prescription. And that's what's interesting in the symposium link that I've shared with you at the beginning. We see some commonalities between CT and MR in the way deep learning is changing the game from image acquisition to image reconstruction. And we could even go to organ segmentation. So if this is something interesting to you, we'll not cover this during this live session, but don't hesitate to ask your question for any piece of marketing. I'll be happy to talk further about deep learning.
So video is back again. Thank you, Bastien, for keeping the audience with us.
Focused. Yeah, live effect, you know. So yes, this is the T2 SSFSE actual we scan with thin slices for the pancreas. As you can see here, we have this great visualization of the pancreas, and as well here we have structure like the adrenal gland above the kidneys, and we can maybe make this the same exercise by comparing with and without Ericon DL. You can really see the quantity of signal we are saving, and which will give us really this capability to achieve a higher in-plane resolution, so with more clinical details in a short scan time. Last but not least, because we are just on time to scan the last one, we performed, as I said, thorax, abdomen, and pelvis using the air coil. And here, the main things to show you is the great coverage we have. I will show you the pasted image between the two steps, and it will really give you this this taste of what the air coil can bring you in your clinical and daily routine. And it's really linked to the AirTouch interface, where we don't need to deal with any coil selection. And here you can see that you will not have as well to move the coil during any examination. I mean, you can scan the thorax, start from the thorax and go down in the abdomen, in the pelvis, without any manipulation and any intervention on the coil. Okay, so you can see, we'll see that the paste of the two steps will be automatically done in the system at the operator console. And maybe now let's have a look to finish on that on the pasted images. And you can see here, maybe the best things to do here is to make these small measurements, because we have, yes, we have 70 centimeters here, and we are covering with only one coil on a volunteer who is really tall, thorax, abdomen, and pelvis, with great quality and homogeneity. So yes, we are more than 2 minutes after the time. I'm sorry for that, but body session is every time with a lot of things to discuss. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and you see that you will be able to scan with a great pleasure with our system for body imaging. And I hope to see you for the end of the Congress this weekend.
Thank you for attending.